Hold on a second here. There's my other computer stopped working, and I don't see. Yeah, hold on a second. Well, I set that up. Okay, so we're live on Rumble and on YouTube while I'm rebooting this station here because it locked up, and then we'll get on with the program here. Again, the format for those who are unfamiliar with what I do is the live streams are 30 minutes off the given topic, and we're going to talk about an actual realistic situation here, which is how to send documents on the internet, and a practical problem that I experienced myself just now, and I want to teach you stuff about that. And then we're going to get into a Q&A section where any topic that you want to discuss, we'll discuss depending on the time. And we'll go for an hour on that. You don't have to stay for that if you don't wish. This is my opportunity to work with my community here and find out what interests you. So the live stream is important to me because it kind of gives me some idea of what you guys are thinking about. So hold on while I'm trying to bring up the YouTube chat here, which I will be able to do momentarily. Just getting close to that. Somebody always makes a comment about, oh, look how he's so disorganized that he can't even get the thing going. Well, the problem is it's a live stream. And in the live stream, you make a mistake and there's just no way around this. And somebody will say, well, you're supposed to be some techie and you're not smart enough to go figure it out. Yeah. Typical statement. And we can ignore that because that's not important. Okay, so anyway, hold on while I bring up the comments. We are, in fact, live anyway, but I just want to make sure I can see the comments here, which will be available. There we go. Okay, so we are there. I can see your comments, and we are good to go. Okay, so sorry about that. It always takes a couple seconds or a couple of minutes to get set up on this. The topic is about documents, and let me just tell you the scenario here so that you understand, because it's actually very common. I had to change insurance or do some changes to my medical coverage. So I talked to the plan administrator people, the people who manage the subscribers and such on our plan, and because I'm moving some employees around and so on, and they said, fill out these forms and we'll handle it for you. So they sent me the forms, and the forms were kind of filled with personal detail, like your birthday, your social security number, stuff like that, and your health status, stuff like that. So, and then the instructions said, mail it back to me. Okay, now that wasn't told to me when I first talked to them. So the lady said, okay, mail it back to me, and I said, zuck that. I'm not going to send you a PDF file with all this personal information and just mail it to you via email. That's not going to zucking happen. Okay? And a lot of you just do it. You just say, oh, okay, they must know what they're doing here because they asked for it. And, I'll give you another example. This is very common with colleges. So colleges say, okay, we need financial aid information. So what do you do with financial aid? You have to submit tax returns. Then you have to, fill out some income stuff and income forms, and so on. And the university says, email it to us. And, many of you will just email it. My reaction to that, in my experience in the past, is zuck that. I'm not going to email you anything. So that's not going to happen. We are not going to do any kind of email of that nature. So that's a second example of that. And the third example of this is you talk to your accountant, and your accountant does your tax returns, and your accountant says, "Oh, I will mail you your tax. First of all, give me the data. So email me all your information, your income, and your expenses, and all that. And then when you're done, when I'm done with the tax return, I'm gonna email you the tax return. I'm gonna put it in the zip file. I'm gonna put it in the zip file, and for your safety, I'm gonna give you a passworded zip file. The password is the last 4 digits of your social." Okay, so these are all very similar scenarios, and it really shows the lack of understanding of common people about technology and the dangers of all this, and what are the threats of this. There's a cybersecurity threat here. Okay, this is not necessarily just privacy involved here. This is a cybersecurity threat, because you don't understand how email flows through the internet. You don't know how attachments are handled. You don't know how zip files are handled. Many of you have no idea, and you say, "Oh, okay, yeah." If you're asking me for a document and you do this all the time, you're an insurance company and you handle this all the time, so therefore it must be okay for you to be sending PDF documents over email. Okay, so we're going to just go briefly into some of the big issues here and why that's a really, really stupid idea. Don't do that. Do not do that, please. So I kind of got tired of arguing with this lady here about how it wasn't even HIPAA compliant to be sending, medical information through email. And in fact, it was so funny. Just the day before, we were chatting with a doctor friend, and they said, "Oh yeah, we still email people, even though it's not HIPAA compliant. We still email people." So, it's just a lack of understanding of how email works. So I'm going to review this again with you, because this lady actually told me, "Oh, we have a secure portal. All you have to do is email to this server and it will be encrypted. That's all you have to do. Email to this server and it will be encrypted." So what kind of nonsense is that? How does emailing to their server encrypt it? How? I mean, there's some technical problems here with this explanation, I'm going to tell you right now. Okay? And we're going to talk about, what I had to do one time, some of the solutions. And unfortunately, it's a tough thing to have to explain. And, there's just a lack of understanding. And really, any corporation that doesn't know how to have a secure portal should talk to me about having a secure portal. You should use something like a Brax Me as a secure portal. You need something. You need some sort of secure portal. You can't just go do this. You can't just go ask people to be sending documents with social security numbers and have that be sent out. In fact, in many medical record systems, the medical record number is the social security number, because it's used as the Medicare ID. The Medicare ID is the social security number. So it actually identifies the coverage. So that's a very common thing. So even a medical record number can be dangerous. So anyway, what you need to understand is how email flows through the internet. So we misconstrue this because Google tells you, our email is encrypted. We use encryption, TLS. We use TLS for your emails. If you're going to use Gmail, it's going to be TLS protected. Okay, both when you send and also when you receive. So you all believe that, just like you believe Apple, with this client-side scanning thing that you should see some of the comments in my videos. And I just don't want to argue with people. So you're going to argue and you don't make sense. I'm not going to leave a nasty comment. I'm just going to delete your comment because you don't know what you're talking about. So email, the way it is handled, so you have an email client. So let's say you're using a computer, a phone, whatever device you're using, your own client computer. A client computer means you. A user device is called a client computer. Okay, that's terminology in techie land here. So versus a server. So the way that the terminology is, there's a client, there's a server. Okay, so when you have a client computer, in your case is a laptop, a tablet, a phone, you're the client computer and you have some sort of mail program on it. You can be using Apple Mail, you could be using Thunderbird, you can be using K9, you could be using Microsoft Outlook, whatever you're using on your device, that's called a client. The client now connects to the server of your email provider. Okay, of your email provider. So let's say you're using Outlook, then you're talking to the Outlook server if that's the host of your account. If you're using Gmail, then the host is Google. If you're using Yahoo, then the host is Yahoo. If you're using Brax Mail, then the host is Brax Mobile. Okay, so that leg between your client computer and your host provider nowadays is pretty much almost always encrypted. Okay, so back in the old days, that's hardly ever encrypted, and anyone can listen in on the network. All you have to do is do, Wireshark. Listen, and I used to do that all the time because it was kind of amusing how people would use email services, and most of it was not encrypted. It would just go through the internet, and you can intercept it anywhere, and you can see everybody's email. Okay, so that step has been encrypted. So between you and the server of your host provider, so whatever your domain is on your email, that's your host provider. And between you and that is encrypted. So that's not an issue now. Now, if you're the recipient and you're receiving email, so you're receiving email through, let's say, Outlook. Okay, so you're receiving email on Outlook.com, and it arrives from maybe it comes from Gmail, and it arrives in your inbox. It goes to your server, and then the server then to you is also encrypted because it's the same connection. Okay, it's between a client and a server is always encrypted now. That's not the concern. That's not the concern. Email, though, is not encrypted at the server. Just let's make sure this is clear. Email is not encrypted at the server. There is no process for normal email. There's some exceptions here, like a Proton Mail, because they do something different with internal email. But for email to somebody else that's not inside the domain, it is never encrypted. I don't care if it's Proton Mail or Tutanora, whatever it is. If you're sending email to some other domain, it is never encrypted. Okay? Now, it's again, let me teach you that. It's not encrypted at the server. Now, that server needs to send mail to the server of your destination. So if this is Outlook and you got to send to Yahoo, so that stage there to get from here to there, okay, that's called MTA traffic. So the two servers need to talk. So the sender needs to talk to that server. It does a connection, and then this server then will receive the traffic. That step may be encrypted. In most cases, it is not encrypted. You cannot rely on that. You cannot rely on that because the standard does not require it. Nowadays, some proportion of it may be encrypted, but some proportion. There's no guarantee it will ever be encrypted. Okay? There's no guarantee. So you can't make that assumption. Anybody listening in on that stretch, MTA to MTA, which is, any internet trunk, the three-letter agencies, hacker, anyone in the trunk can listen to that with a Wireshark or some other similar kind of software, can listen into the traffic. In fact, your carrier will often listen to that traffic to block content. They use it to block certain kinds of content, like sometimes they will block VPN content. Okay, and that's how they do it. They'll say, okay, let's do what is called a packet inspection, examine the traffic, and once we see that, then we can block that. Well, a hacker can also listen in and participate in that. And you think that your attachments are in some sort of secret format. All attachments are just whatever the normal file is. So let's say it's a PDF file. The attachments are, stored in your email exactly as a PDF file. The only difference is that it is in a format that's readable as text, because email is text only. So the file is converted to a format called base64. Okay, that's all it is. It's just a change of format. There's no encryption here. Just changes the format, so anybody can take the base64, convert it down to the bit by bit format of a normal file. So somebody can extract the file from any email and convert it down. So if it's a PDF file, you can see the PDF. And it's even worse than that, because some of that traffic is easily readable without even extracting it from the email. It's just base64. There's no special encryption. So somebody can do that and basically harvest the internet for social security numbers and names and addresses and so on. Names, addresses, phone numbers, birth dates, and use that for identity theft. I mean, this is such a simple thing. Then you have the secondary, what was I talking about? Okay, never mind, I forgot. So anyway, you're sending your traffic, and it could be captured by anyone listening in with bad intent. Now, the secondary issue is, what if somebody sends you a zip file, and like the accountant example I just gave you, where the accountant says, I'm going to encrypt the file with your 4-digit social security number. Okay, a little bit of advice here. It's called entropy, on passwords. How many possibilities are there with a 4-digit social security number? How many possibilities are there? How many times do you have to guess? Wow. Okay, sorry about that. Lost the connection. I was just looking at it and I saw, it was red. So lost the connection. Okay, so hopefully we're back. Okay, so back to what I was saying. If you're sending a document with a password that's, in this case, 4-digit numeric, well, you only have 9999 choices. 9,999. How long do you think a computer takes to solve the password for a PDF file with a password that's 4 digits long? How long do you think it would take to do that? And let's not even talk about 4 digits. Let's talk about the 9-digit social security number. How long would it take a computer to solve the whole entire 9-digit social security number and break the encryption on a PDF file or a zip file even? Well, I'm going to tell you. Even on the full social security number, milliseconds. I don't even know if it'll take a millisecond. Certainly 9999 is just a blink of an eye. I mean, it could solve that. It could solve that without even a thought. A computer can try out 9,999 numbers pretty immediately. So to try out, 9 digits, nothing. Wouldn't take long. Milliseconds. Okay? So you can see how useless that is when your accountant says, oh, I'm going to password it with that. Well, the answer is simple. If you're going to send a document and you want to have some sort of password that is at least passable, well, you need to be using alphanumeric characters, upper and lowercase with a special character, or have it quite long. Even if you didn't have a special character, if you made a long phrase, like multi-word phrase, like the sun is very bright today. with capital letters in there. Or 1, the sun is very bright today. You know, that's fairly long. It's pretty hard to break. But social security number. And the other thing is, don't do this. This is the other thing that people do. Okay, I'm going to send you the file, and then I'll send another email with a password. Well, how is that going to work? Somebody intercepts the email, they're going to see both emails. So you can't do that either. Okay, that's not going to work either. So if you're going to send a password in some way, you got to do it in a different channel, meaning use a different method of communicating that. Okay, maybe call the person, said, this is the password I'm going to use, and make a very long password. You know, like I said, like a sentence. Something easy to say, but, you know, it's long. It's got to be long. You know, easily shoot for at least 15 digits. That would take a long time to unravel. A computer can't solve that. But numeric only, you're zucked. Numeric only, don't ever use a social security number as a password. Anything numeric is not going to work. That's too easy. Okay, never numeric. Never just alpha either. It's got to be alphanumeric. It's got to be greater than, certainly greater than 9 digits. And, you know, 15 at least. Alphanumeric with special character would be best. But even if you just made it alphanumeric upper and lower, it will be okay at 15 digits. So that's the way you do that, and you tell your accountant, okay, stop sending me these documents with this stupid, you know, social security number as password. And a lot of accountants do that. And it's like, you know, these people have no sense of just even standard cybersecurity. So, in the case of, you know, my insurance company, I said, fuck you, I'm not going to do that. I sent it by snail mail. I said, no, I am not going to send you a file when I know it's going to go through the MTA, and the MTA to the MTA is going to be whatever. He said, well, we encrypt it. You mean they encrypt it once it reaches the server? Okay. That doesn't encrypt the step in between. There is no guarantee that two MTAs are going to have an encrypted conversation. Some will, some won't. You can't guarantee that. Okay, because the communication between servers is done using start TLS. It's by request. And by the way, a 3-letter agency can easily block the start TLS command so it doesn't encrypt. There's nothing. It's not required to send start TLS. So if I wanted to stop that traffic, all I have to do is block start TLS from ever appearing, and the traffic will continue. This is kind of the flaw in the design of this, because start TLS is optional, and the requesting server, the one that's sending, will send start TLS command to say please encrypt, and if it doesn't send it, meaning somebody blocked that traffic, start TLS, there's nothing to force it to encrypt. So it's a very easy thing to say, okay, well, I want to intercept traffic. All I have to do is block, just block the traffic from coming. If you see a start TLS command, take it out. Don't let it go through. Kind of firewall the word start TLS. Can you do that? Absolutely yes. Okay, so that's not an answer. Whatever that company is thinking that they're going to do for me, they're not going to do for me. They don't understand cybersecurity. So sorry, not going to do it. So the answer, and I told you about the college case. In this case, in the college case, the person I was talking to did not, understood that there was a problem. And so I gave him an option. An option said, here, I'll give you a way to pass this document. It's going to be easy. Log in, sign up to Brax.me, and we'll have a Brax.me session, and then you can, and I'll send you the files on Brax.me. This is the same way I do it with my accountants. If I need to send files to my accountants, they log into Brax.me, and then we pass the files on Brax.me, and then you can even delete the files afterward because it doesn't have to stay there. And that's the safest way to communicate, because then, We don't have to worry about any external forces, and your files sent, files received, then you can delete it. Files in my files are encrypted on Brax.me. So it's pretty safe. I do it all the time. So that's certainly a way. The other way that I use Brax.me, and they don't want to take this, is I put a Brax.me link into the email. So I put a download link to Brax.me to download the file on the email, which they can directly download. And many of these people say, "Oh, no, we can't click on links." Well, Zuck, if you're not gonna click on links, then we don't have an answer. If it's a friend, they can click on links, but if it's some formal large company, they may be blocked from clicking a link. So in that case, the only solution is for them to log into Brax.me and take it that way, or build themselves a portal, or use Brax.me as a portal. It's free. I offer it for free. You can use it, but don't take advantage of people and with your lack of understanding of cybersecurity and say, go send me a file out in the open, because that's just not right. Just not right. You're putting other people at risk, and it's not your risk. It's not your data. Corporations, it's not your data, so you don't care. Okay, so that's 2 ways. 3 ways. So you can zip up a file or make a very long password and pass the password by phone or some other way. That's 1 way. Secondly, use Brax.me either as a link. If some of them will accept a link, you can go to My Files and pass a link. You might say, well, but there's a link to download. Yeah, but automated systems aren't going to download. They're just going to see the link. Okay, and then after the download occurs, you can delete the file. Okay, it doesn't matter it's a download link, because automated systems that do the spying aren't going to be clicking that link. They just take the traffic directly from the email. Okay, and then the final solution is just go to a portal like Brax.me and just do it there. Can you use something else? The problem is which one is secure. I mean, you can't just say, I'm going to go to Twitter and pass my files on Twitter. I'm going to use Facebook. I'm going to use Google Docs. Well, these are all zucked up solutions. Okay? All zucked up solutions, because, they're going to spy on you. So on Brax.me, there's none of that. It is encrypted and it is open source. So, okay, so at least gives you some way. And you don't have to keep the document there. Just use it for temporarily passing of documents. But you can keep it there if you want. I do. So, somebody was asking me if I encrypt my drives, and I said no, because I put my stuff on Brax.me. So, I'm comfortable enough to put my stuff on Brax.me. So I'm not worried about it on Brax.me, because I know what the encryption is. Okay, so that's kind of a basic thing, and it's just a personal experience that I had to bring up to you guys, because it's kind of bothersome to have to experience this in today's modern age here. So we're going to take a short sponsor break. My sponsor is Linode. Linode is a cloud service provider, and they do Linux servers primarily. And if you ever need like a website, Nextcloud server, the Jitsi server, any kind of WordPress server, any of that you would normally need, or you need a domain, and you're saying, well, who do I use? You can go to GoDaddy, you can go to AWS, you can go to any number of providers, and you will find one thing that's kind of interesting, and that is those guys charge more. GoDaddy used to be like known as a place to find stuff cheap, like domains. Domains used to be cheap on GoDaddy, so you say, oh, let's go to GoDaddy and have cheap domains. The domains may be cheap, the servers are not cheap. So I don't go to GoDaddy. I wouldn't recommend like a newbie saying, let's go to Linode. I mean, it's going to cost an arm and a leg. So, AWS. But if you go to Linode, you can actually set up a web server for $5 a month. Your own server for $5 a month. I mean, that's pretty reasonable. Traffic included, everything included. Now, if you go to Linode and use the code Rob Braxman in, HTTPS, linode.com/Rob Braxman, they're going to give you $100 credit that you can use for a period of up to 2 months. and apply it to your account. So check that out. Okay, so I hope you learned a little bit about documents and and things in this modern age where people are so unaware of how the internet works. That to this day that we would still be experiencing people passing documents out in the open like this. It's crazy. Yeah, they can send me blank documents all day, but when I fill it out, it's no longer blank. So hell no, I'm not going to do that. Not going to do it. Okay, so now let me just I'm going to get to your comments here, but just a side comment here about my my video from a week ago, the Apple video, which is trending, and the video on the dark net and Tor and Lokinet and all that is doing very well as well, but the Apple video is trending. And I knew when I made that video, I knew it was going to trend because, it's almost dependent on the passion I put into the content and, how strongly I feel about it. And if I feel very strongly about it, it tends to trend. But, unfortunately, I can't always come up with topics that are always that exciting. In any case, obviously I get a lot of hate mail, and fortunately I'm not alone. I actually I don't have any contact with Louis Rossmann. He gets a lot of hate mail too, apparently. But yeah, I get a lot of hate mail, and I don't have the patience to respond to these people. They're not going to be in this chat. So they're not going to go listen to me anyway. And some of the logic is so twisted, I don't even know what to say. So many of them, or several of them, the ones that don't hit dislike, made a comment along the lines of, "You have no proof. You're making these assertions without any proof." And, I don't know what would please these people, because what I'm talking about in the Apple backdoor video is not some technology that does not exist. Apple stated that the technology exists. Okay, they call it neural hash, which the proper term is called client-side scanning. Okay, that's what people in the cybersecurity community call it. That's what I call it, client-side scanning. It's the ability of a foreign party to instruct the neural engine to spy on the content on the local computer, the client computer. And I explained to you earlier what a client computer means. Okay, so client-side scanning is being able to scan the end-user device from an external party using certain commands, and it goes and instructs the neural engine to go process. Now, so actually, many people who question Louis Rossmann. So Louis Rossmann was questioned about this too, and people didn't believe him either. But when they questioned him, they actually posted stuff on Twitter. Yeah, it disconnected again. Okay, I'm just waiting to make sure it's steady here. I heard like the air conditioner power on, so maybe there was a power surge. So it timed to a power surge, I think. Or maybe I'm being attacked. I have no idea. Okay, so so at least it happened like half an hour apart. So it's not so frequently happening here. Okay, so going back to what I was saying about the client-side scanning, how people were questioning and saying that I have no proof of neural hash and all this nonsense. The fact of the matter is, even the ones that criticize Louis Rossmann actually explain the steps as cybersecurity researchers, they explain the steps of how the neural engine API works, and nobody actually questioned that the neural engine API works and how it extracts content in a video, which is, I told you, this is not a new thing. YouTube does it, Amazon does it, Facebook does it. This is not some new technology here, okay? I'm not explaining some new technology. I'm explaining something that's actually very common here on YouTube. I mean, I made a video about how, the computer sees it can do how a computer can do image recognition, and there's various videos, including mine, that show how an AI can read the content of the video and actually see what the context is in the photo. Can see the individuals, the face, if they're smiling, just as like I explained in the video. Okay, the AI is very smart now, can actually tell, well, it sometimes will make a mistake, but it's very smart that can actually understand context. In fact, the context on YouTube, many of the strikes and so on are done in an automatic way by YouTube. The YouTube AI does that, and it will give you a strike or give you a copyright violation or TOS violation or whatever they're going to do, and it's going to be automated. Then you appeal, and then you appeal to a human, but the machine made a determination. Okay? So the machine made a determination. And these people were actually questioning me, so like, well, you have no proof. Okay, I don't need to tell you this. The API for neural hash, or not neural, the neural engine image recognition is in there. Apple states it's in there. Cybersecurity people have said it's in there. The only claim that they say that I'm full of it and Louis Rossmann is full of it is because they claim that there's no evil intent. Yeah, the computer, the neural engine is capable of examining photos on your phones any way it wants. That capability is there. Their only justification is that there's no proof that Apple is using that in its evil way for surveillance purposes, even though the video I made is just explaining the motive, why they had to do that. That was the purpose of the video, to say, okay, it's easy to say there's client-side scanning, but we never know what the motive is. Why would they want to do that? What is the point? So I explained, how the three-letter agencies were pushing Apple to make a move, especially with that FBI thing that happened in 2015, where they said, we want access to the iPhone. And he said, well, we can't do that. If you give you access to the iPhone and the public knows that, then we're going to lose business. So we got to come up with a way around. And the way as time went by, they introduced this concept called the neural engine. What does the neural engine do that's unique? It's the AI looking at your phone. It's the AI looking at the contents of your phone before it gets encrypted, which is exactly what was stated. If you all read the press and what the three-letter agencies were saying, that's exactly what they've been requesting all these years, since 2015. They say, oh yeah, okay, so we can't stop you from encrypting, but we need to see the traffic before it's encrypted. So I now explain to you the justification for doing neural engine. And don't be surprised if Google uses because Google also has a neural engine. They haven't said they use it, but it's there. So it seems plausible then that they will use that as well. So now the question is that people are telling me that I'm full of it because there's no proof. I don't know what else to tell you. The tools are there to spy on you using the neural engine to actually examine contents in your phone before encryption, as I said. And your only logic is that you haven't caught Apple doing it. That's the only people are telling me you have no proof because until you this is the funny part. Until you intercept the traffic that proves that they are sending hash information, which, if you understand how that works, is not readable. And you're supposed to say, unless you do that, then you're never going to find you're lying. Well, they got it all wrong in so many ways. It's wrong in so many ways because I explained in the video. And please watch that video again. And I said it's trending because there's a lot of like hidden little details. There's nuggets in there that just people that just can't comprehend. And they're calling me the FUD guy or whatever nonsense. I'm just telling you what it is. That, if you don't understand the technology, somebody was actually giving me a bunch of BS about, he doesn't know what a hash is. It's like, you stupid Zuck. I'm the one that doesn't know what a hash is, okay? That guy needs to go study some cryptocurrencies. Cryptocurrencies are heavy on the hash. Hash is a very big element of cryptocurrencies, okay? Which obviously I understand. So anyway, one of the ways I described that it works, and this is going to be part of, hopefully my next video, which is to talk about the mesh network. See, the problem is now on an iPhone, there's a way to send messages to an iPhone without going through the internet. I already explained this to you that when you turn off your iPhone, it's actually turning into an AirTag. So the phone is able to communicate with Apple even with the power off. Meaning the power button, not the power, because there's battery and you can't remove the battery. Okay, so an iPhone now is talking to Apple even when off, as I explained. This is not a mystery either. This is admitted to by Apple. And in fact, the device is emitting also in that same sequence a serial number that identifies it, that is not connected to Find My Phone. It's emitting a location with or without any Find My Phone ever active in iCloud. Something I've proven by actually, getting a device from the Apple Store and listening to the guy explain it to me like he didn't think I understand what he was doing. Okay? Again, discussed in other videos, but just want to just explain that. So, an iPhone is communicating through a side channel, and a side channel now is the Apple Mesh Network. Now, the Apple Mesh Network is an interesting side channel because you can't use it for bulky traffic. You can't use the Mesh Network to say, I'm going to upload the video, I'm going to upload a file. The Mesh Network is going to not allow any kind of big transfers like that. That is not what the Mesh Network does. The Mesh Network is command and control. That's its purpose. And if you don't understand how the Mesh Network works, and go tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about, go look at the API for Bluetooth Low Energy, and you'll see all the commands in there, for goodness sake. Some of these people think I'm some sort of dummy that I don't understand technology. Go look at the fucking API. It's public. Go to the Bluetooth website. It's on there, all the commands, the master or whatever, and all the different commands to control it. There's a listener and a master and, all this. I forget the terminology now. I got to go review it again for my video, but it's all in there. Okay. Now, the purpose of a mesh network is command and control. It's very good for short messages. Well, guess what? A hash is a short message. The way the hash works, you can actually say, find somebody, and I gave the example in the video, the Apple video. I said, find somebody of a certain characteristic. And in the example, I said, find an Asian woman under 30 that looks distressed. I think it's what I said, and scared, and you can even give any more characteristics about how they're dressed, what they're wearing, stuff like that. You can actually be very specific, wearing a red bikini. That's specific, okay? You can even probably specify, a certain style of it. The AI will find that. But here's the interesting thing about what I was talking about with the neural hash and how this works. The way it's made to work, and this is why this stupid cybersecurity people who interject thinking that they really understand a problem doesn't know exactly why it's very hard to ever spot this in the wild. How are you going to spot something when the way it's set up, Apple will send the command, could be by side channel, by mesh, or it could be by internet connectivity. You're never going to know. And sends only hash commands. That's it. A bunch of hashes. Just a bunch of short digits. It's not going to say, find me this person that's this Asian woman with a... It's not going to say that. It's just going to give you a bunch of hashes, which the neural engine interprets by translating the hash into its precompiled list of characteristics in whatever it found in your photos. So that's programmed in that the HQ and the device talks to each other only in characteristics of the photo, and the characteristics are defined as whatever. In this case, they're defined as hashes. Why a hash? So that cybersecurity guys can't zucking read it. That's the purpose of the zucking hash. So you can't read it. So these cybersecurity guys said, well, that's easy. First, you put in, you put a fake root certificate on the phone and you can intercept all the traffic, and then they can't hide anything from you. And therefore, if it doesn't show up there, it must not exist. And they use the same logic for the fact that they can't find the location tracking. So it must not exist. Okay, this is so flawed on multiple levels to show you the lack of understanding of these kids in cybersecurity that don't understand cybersecurity at all. First of all, this idea of a root certificate and all this only works if you're using TLS, using the standard certificate system of TLS. With the root certificate and all that. If you're using symmetric encryption, you are not going to zucking interpret anything. How are you going to interpret symmetric encryption unless you have the password or the symmetric key? So this is just the stupidity of some of these people. If I'm Apple and I want to hide something, why would I leave it out in the open as TLS, HTTPS communications? Why would I do that if I want to hide it from you? I'm going to hide it from you as a hash A. I'm going to send it by the mesh network so you don't see it. I'm going to do things like use symmetrical encryptions. You don't know the internal communication between the device and Apple. Basic stuff. They're not going to do that. They're not going to do that. Apple's not going to do that. Oh, yeah. So Apple people are so dumb. They don't know about the fact that all of you people saying you're cybersecurity guys are doing this. You're, putting fake root certificates and intercepting TLS traffic, and you don't think Apple knows that. You don't think Apple knows that. They wrote the fucking OS. They can stick a private key in a password in there and do symmetric encryption. You don't control the OS. They do. They can do whatever they want. They can send the traffic any way you want, and it's not going to be visible to you either because of symmetric encryption or by using the Apple Mesh Network, which bypasses the fucking internet. My gosh, I was like, talking to little kids. And they questioned me and saying, you don't know anything about tech. They're actually telling me that. You don't know anything about tech. It's like, you fucking idiots, really. Okay, they read a few things and they think they understand. Whereas I've been doing this for a very sucking long time. I mean, people say I'm older than dirt. When it comes to computers, yes, I'm older than dirt. I've been doing this a very sucking long time. I know all the tricks now because I've been doing this for a long time. And I was involved with doing encryption and all that long before, because I was doing encryption of medical zucking records. And that was a long time ago. I was doing encryption of medical records decades ago. Decades. So You know, TLS is kind of a new thing. So, it's like, well, we use TLS, and, if you do HTTPS, you can build it in, and you build into anything, and you can communicate with HTTPS, and it'll be secure. No, because as Apple knows, any cybersecurity guy will put a fake root certificate in there, intercept the traffic, and see exactly what the computer is talking to with Apple. Why would they allow that? Why would Google allow it? You think they're dumb? You don't think they can do symmetric encryption where you can't do this root certificate thing? They don't have the brains to do symmetrical encryption with AES 256? They don't know how to do that? I mean, that's a pretty standard API. I mean, it's built into the OS. Oh, they don't know how to do that, apparently. Okay, got it. Okay, I'm the, I'm the foolish one. I don't know what I'm talking about. Okay, so just letting just some of these side comments of people who actually think they understand. Okay, I just want you to have no doubt about the level where I am and versus what all these people that are, YouTube is a terrible place where they make comments, and a lot of mean people in there. Okay, but you see, I don't really care because there are too many idiots in the world, and they're going to leave comments on YouTube thinking that they're super smart because they want to sound important, and they leave a comment like, one comment I did not delete about somebody talking about hashes, and if it's a hash, then you need rainbow tables. It's like, this guy doesn't even know what a hash is or what a function of a rainbow table is, and I'm supposed to like be so impressed because he used terms like rainbow table. Oh my gosh, it's like, some of you don't even know what I'm talking about, but for those who understand what I'm talking about, read that comment on that Apple video, and it's like, it's. I left it on, but if somebody's gonna talk nonsense, I'm gonna strike it out. I don't want to say anything negative on there. If I'm gonna say something negative, I'll just delete your comment. If I have something positive to say and you want a normal discussion, I'll leave the comment on. But if I feel like I gotta say something negative, I'm just gonna delete the comment because I'm not gonna let it sit there without me responding to you. So yeah, I will always get the trolls, and I don't react to it too much. But I want to make sure that my followers understand that you're not following a person who doesn't know what he's talking about. Okay, some of these people, including the people from the crazy communities of Reddit, and they actually think they're so smart because they've done this and they've done that. And then they criticize me, and they say, we looked at your Brax me code, and it has some issues and all this. They don't understand what I've done in my life. How many companies have they started? Because I've started a few companies. Some of them are, big. So, and I wrote all the software. These companies, were when they existed, when I was there, are selling software I wrote. Enterprise systems, and they're saying, I don't know what I'm talking about. It's like, get some street creds before you talk about that, because the only reason I can do this on YouTube is because I can afford to. The reason I can afford to do it on YouTube, because you can't make money on YouTube. The only reason I can afford to be on YouTube is because I've already had a successful career. I don't need to do this. I do this because of passion, because I believe in it. I believe we're being fooled. So I believe we're being fooled by big tech, by three-letter agencies, by governments, and other people with other organizations with evil intent, like the Palantirs and the Jigsaws, and yeah, they all have some other intent in mind, and they want to control you, and that bothers me. And so here I am trying to explain it. So when somebody says to me that I'm lying that Apple is not doing this, I mean, you can believe what you want. I mean, it's right in front of your eyes that you're saying, well, you got to prove it. Well, it's like saying, the three-letter agencies are spying on you. They're doing mass surveillance. Prove it. Okay, I'll give you a chance. Okay, I'll give you a chance. I mean, no Snowden here. How could we have proven it without Snowden? Until a whistleblower comes out, how could you possibly prove it? So the only way to prove it is for a whistleblower to say, oh yeah, we do that. But the way to prevent them from being a whistleblower is by paying them lots of money. You know, you work for Facebook, you work for Google, you work for Apple, you get paid a lot of money. You get lots of talk. You know, there's no incentive for you to talk because you're an insider. So they're not going to tell you anything. So yeah, so I'm using the technology as I understand it. It's there. So you're saying to me the technology for client-side scanning, which you know is already stated to be there by people testing the API and seeing how the hashing works of the characteristics of the image and all this. That I already told you is nothing new. All they did was move it to the phone. Neural engine concept is not a new concept. That's being used by YouTube, by Amazon, and so on to do image recognition. That is not new. What is new is that they put the CPU power to do the neural network on the phone. That's the only thing different. Okay, so given that, and you're telling me that if you can't prove it, then it must not exist. Well, I mean, you can believe that. So you're telling me that there's evil stuff on the phone, but as long as you don't have any proof, then they're not going to do it. Just like three-letter agencies aren't spying on us. They're not listening on the internet. They're not trying to capture everything you do on the internet. They're not listening to your emails. They're not collecting your emails. They're not putting you in a big database in Utah for everything you do, sorted by your name and with your phone records and your email records and with your health records and whatever else that they have in the database, with your Social Security records, with your Equifax, TransUnion records. Oh, you know, that's not true. Must not exist because you don't know anything about it. So no one's proven it, so it must not be true. Okay, well, if that's what you want to believe, let me tell you something that's going to happen. You'll always be late in the game. You know, I'm fortunate here, at least, you know, some of what I say is justified by what Snowden revealed. Or otherwise I'll be, you know, people will be calling me the FUD guy forever without Snowden. And there's no Snowden from Apple or Snowden from Google, so at the moment, so therefore, you know, everybody's going to say, he's a FUD guy. Just like, you know, if I were talking about three-letter agencies, you'd tell me the same thing. So, yeah, if you want to feel good, yeah, don't watch me. Go watch some other guy that claimed to be cybersecurity people because they got it tested. They tested it. No, I don't work like that. Okay. I run more of an intelligence operation. I'm going to look for clues and behaviors and motives. I understand that technology is there. I don't have to invent it. The technology is stated, it's public. The API for Bluetooth low energy is there. The neural hash API, you know, people have tested that. It's there. Okay? So it's there. So the only thing that people are saying is, hey, you haven't found it misused. Okay, you can believe that. My point is, if the technology is there to be used for an evil purpose, historically it's always been used for an evil purpose. Always has been. Okay, this is not some new thing where I just I'm just telling you stuff to give you FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. It's got to be based on something real. Otherwise, you know, I'm just giving fear for no reason. You know, the reason we're trying to protect you and coming up with solutions to protect you, and it's getting hard to protect you. It's certainly very hard to protect somebody who doesn't have a Google phone. And the response I get, oh, you're just trying to sell phones. It's like, okay. I mean, many of you have the Google phones and you de-Google yourself. You don't have to get it from me. If you are techie, you can do it yourself. I provide a service for those who can't do it themselves. And I sell phones for those who want a solution that's already, it's more easily maintained. But people are always, saying, oh, he's just trying to sell you stuff. It's like, would you rather that I don't offer you solutions? For years, I was not offering solutions. I just talked here with no solution. That's what I was doing for many, many, many years on Periscope before I went to YouTube. Even on YouTube, at the very first part of this, I had no solutions either. I only came up with solutions about a year after I came from Periscope. And one of the first solutions I came up with was Brax router. It's one of the first ones. And then people would say, oh, he's trying to sell Brax routers. It's like, oh my gosh. It's like, I guess I should ignore it. It's not important. It's not important. So, I shouldn't be providing solutions. But of course, who really cares what those guys think? The point is, they just don't like it because I'm more successful than they are. Because you can't really survive. I can't do what I'm doing here from YouTube ads. I mean, it would be pointless. It doesn't pay. I've been doing this for 9 years now, I think. 10 years of, I think 9 years of 9 years of social media explaining this topic, and without any income. And I was able to keep doing that. I'm able to support myself without income from what I'm doing here. But obviously, if I can find an income to do it, then of course that would be better. So, so some of these people are saying, "Oh, he's just some rich guy who just wants to take your money." Like, okay. So just so you know, it's I don't get rich from YouTube. So if you think it's from YouTube, then that's pretty crazy. Okay. So anyway, I believe in what I'm doing here, and I'm explaining things to you because no one else will explain it in this way. Bruce Rossman has very good intent. He's when he focuses on this issue of privacy, he has some instinctual things that are actually very in line with what I think. He's just not, he's not a programmer. He's not a cybersecurity guy. So, but he has a very good understanding, which I appreciate. So I don't have any contact with Louis Rossman. I'm just saying that we're kind of like in the same boat here with a bunch of people that are fans of Apple, and many of you are using Apple products even right now, and you're still here. So I'm only telling the truth. So the truth is the truth. Sometimes we don't like to hear it, but the truth is the truth. So a question that is raised for some of you who have Apple products, and some of you want to transition away from Apple products, but you still have your Apple products. How do you minimize the threat of client-side scanning and all this in your lives? Because to me, the dual threats of an iPhone at the moment, and they're going to be more later on, but the immediate threats on an iOS device and a Mac now, so unfortunately it includes a Mac. The immediate threats to these two are, one is location tracking on iOS, which is so, it's so bad. You can't turn it off. You can't turn it off even when the phone is off. It's so persistent. There's just no way to stop it. And it's coming across, a phone is tracking you in so many ways, like 10 ways. And so if you stop one, you think you're okay, and then, there's actually more ways. You don't even know how Bluetooth changed when AirTag and Bluetooth low energy got combined into this AirTag thing, this technology was not invented by Apple. It was invented by Bluetooth. Okay? So the people who made the Bluetooth standard made a device, BLE, which is basically a reuse of the same radios. It's the same radio that's already in Bluetooth. They just repurposed the radio. And one of the little features of this Bluetooth that did not exist before was location tracking and being able to do direction finder, kind of like a compass. You can actually point your compass to the Bluetooth. It just doesn't emit something. It even announces that it's emitting it at a certain angle. So you can actually even say, okay, Bluetooth low energy is device is 2 feet away at 235 degrees, which is crazy. Crazy kind of situation here. So and that technology is on an iPhone. So anyway, when you have a iOS or Mac device, how do you minimize the threat? Well, one of the ways to minimize it is at least the location is not so bad on a computer. So the Mac isn't going to be big on the location problem because they don't have the sensors of the phone. Okay, so but you enable location, Wi-Fi triangulation, and all that. Find My Phone, yeah, it's going to emit something. So whereas you can't stop Find My Phone on a phone because it's emitting the serial number. I'm not sure the Mac operates the exact same way because it doesn't have that kind of built-in location tracker in there. So I'm not sure if that can't be stopped. That probably can be stopped in Mac OS. So that side, it's not as bad. Location tracking is worse than an iPhone. Second issue is the client-side scanning, which apparently now exists on the Mac. So if you're concerned about client-side scanning, well, very simple, and just don't store images on your devices. Don't collect images on your Mac or your iOS device. Store it elsewhere. Store it in the cloud. Even in the cloud, is as long as it's not iCloud. Store it in your private cloud. Store it on your own Dropbox. Store it someplace else that's not on the phone. And then that can't be scanned. Because the scanning will only work if it's on the phone itself, used in storage on the phone. So a lot of you are falling for this, idea that the phone is your camera, and therefore, and this is part of the whole idea of what Apple wants you to do. They're saying, well, the phone is an absolutely perfect camera. So therefore, you should put your images, and we're going to give you terabytes. It keeps growing every year. And then, it used to be 128 gigabytes on the phone, then 256, now it's 512. And they're standardizing on this large number of storage sizes for a phone because they want you to put everything on a phone. Well, what fools the AI is if you remove it from the phone. How can they scan something that's not on the phone? So move it. Use SyncThing. I have a video on SyncThing. You can auto download the contents of your iPhone or your Android and move it to a different computer that's not a Mac. Can't be a Mac. Got to be something else. Could be preferably Linux. Okay. Put it on some Linux machine with a big hard drive, and then put it on there, or set up your own Nextcloud server at home if you're a techie. If not, just put it on any other computer in the house that has a large hard drive, and that's where you actually will move your files from your phone so that it doesn't accumulate on your phone. So that's a safety thing that you can do on an iPhone. Now, I have Apple devices. I have an iPhone 10 that I don't use. It's in a Faraday bag. I have an iPad. I have a Wi-Fi only iPad. It doesn't have a SIM card, doesn't have any of that. And I don't use anything on it. I use it only in gigs to do music. So there's no content on the device. I don't use it for anything. There's no photos. There's nothing. Okay? There's nothing on the device. It's Wi-Fi only. Wi-Fi is disconnected. So it actually serves no purpose except to go, if you see me doing my music gigs, like I posted a music video on my Rob Braxman Jazz channel, and you can see the iPad in there, and yeah, it's disconnected. It's not connected to anything. It's not connected to the internet. It's not connected. All it does is give me music. So is that unsafe? Well, what are they tracking? It's not even logged in. So I don't know what they're going to track on it if you don't use it. See, the tracking requires you to use something. They track behaviors, photos, something. But if you don't do anything with it, and if it stays home all the time, then it's not going to do much. So, yeah. And so I don't worry about it because there's no information to be gathered from it. So they can say, oh, he went to this gig because we track the location. Of course, the Wi-Fi is off, so it's not actually going to transmit that. But because there's no internet, so it can't transmit anything. But in theory, if it could transmit, it would transmit a location from a gig. That's about it. I don't use it otherwise. Okay, so anyway, I'm just telling you how you can minimize the risk. Some of you say, "Oh, I have an old Android device. Should I throw it away?" No, I told you keep those because when you're not using them, charge them up and keep them in a Faraday bag. I'm not worried about a Faraday bag on a non-iPhone. They're not like iPhones. iPhones are the ones that I have to put in a Faraday bag because they're communicating even with a battery when the power is off. Android doesn't do that. So Android is off. When Android is off, as far as I know, it is off. Okay, it doesn't have that Apple mesh network. There's no mesh network on Google phones. So if Android is off, you set it aside, and if you're not using it, it's not generating any data. So if you take off the SIM card, what would be the purpose of the phone? You don't have traffic on it. Well, you can use it for two-factor authentication. You can use a Google device as your two-factor authentication on Wi-Fi. You don't even need a SIM card. Google will accept a Google app on a Google Android as your two-factor authentication. You don't need a second line. Okay? So, in fact, that's what I'm using right now because, Ting.com, that evil company, disconnected my extra line for 2FA, as well as many of you. So that's why I told you to dump Ting. It's a bad company. Dump Ting Mobile. Very bad company. So if you're on T-Mobile, dump it. So anyway, they affected many of us because I was recommending Ting before, and then they got bought out by somebody else, and they've been an evil company ever since. So yes, let's all dump Ting and go use something else. And besides, they raised their prices anyway. They're not any cheaper than Mint. They used to be cheaper than Mint, and they used to be very easy to work with, and you get a good website, and everything was going fine. Now they're evil. So yeah, and so they check your IMEIs, and they actually check individual IMEIs. They're the only company that does that. They're policing IMEIs. Well, zuck you. Okay. Well, the reason we don't want policing IMEIs is because all the Brax 2 phones that I've shipped here have one IMEI. We all have share the same IMEI. So because we all have that means thousands of phones have the same IMEI. Okay, so they don't like that. Oh, this is all fraud. It's fraudulent because you're all using the same IMEI. Well, zuck you. There's no law that prevents me from using the same IMEI. So no other carrier, even the host carrier, T-Mobile, doesn't care. So I use T-Mobile. It works fine. Okay, so we all use the same IMEI. So thousands of phones have the same IMEI from me. Okay, so yeah. So anyway, so so dump Ting. So anyway, you can use an old Android as a 2FA device, and when you're not using, just turn it off. And if it's turned off, then it can't track location, can't track anything else. Turn it on only when you need two-factor authentication. So if you have, if a bag or, just keep it in there and off. In an emergency, you turn it on. If they need 2FA that Google wants, then you turn it on. Otherwise, leave it off. And that way you don't have to give your phone number. Okay, so that's the option for older phones. So don't dump them. It doesn't matter if it's an old Moto G7 that you can't use anymore because you're just going to use Wi-Fi. So even old Androids that may no longer have support from a carrier, they're going to work just fine for this purpose, 2FA with Google. Okay, so I use that. Well, I use an iPhone as 2FA, but I used to use a Pixel 4 as my 2FA. So and then I shifted to the iPhone. I don't know if I should have shifted to the iPhone, but I guess put it to use because hard to use the phone is an iPhone 10. But the iPhone 10 has it's the first phone with a neural engine, so I don't want to ever put that out of the Faraday bag without good reason. It's not going to get any images in there for them to scan. I don't put anything in there. Volta Wireless. Some people said to me recently that Volta was okay, but personally, somebody sent me a Volta chip to test. Didn't work. Then they contacted Volta and said, this is not working. Can you refund my money? Wouldn't return their call. I contacted Volta and said, hey, you want me to resell Volta for you? Didn't even get back to me. And then people started complaining to me about Volta. And then some people came recently and saying, oh, they're good now. Okay, well, I don't know. They had such a bad reputation. So, in theory, their prices were reasonable, but they had such a bad reputation. So I don't know. Because Volta was actually selling the same phone as I am. So maybe it's working now because, I changed the IMEI, and so it's not a problem. So anyway, I can't recommend Volta. I don't have any proof that they've done anything better than, because if I recommend it and you start buying it and you have a bad experience, you're just going to blame me. So I would have been happy to recommend them. In fact, I mentioned them in a prior video, but people's experience has been very bad. So is Mint reliable? I don't know if Mint is reliable. I mean, it's T-Mobile, so T-Mobile is reliable. T-Mobile is reliable. Why is Mint better? Mint is not any better. They're just $15 a month, according to Ryan Reynolds. If that's the current pricing, then that's very reasonable price. U.S. Wireless is U.S. Wireless is iffy service-wise. Because U.S. Wireless is a very small network, and they're in localities that don't have a lot of support. They're not one of the big carriers, and so they don't have a lot of infrastructure. So some of their equipment may be inadequate and incompatible in a lot of ways, and some of you are forced to use U.S. Wireless because of where you are. So, but in my experience, they're not. They haven't been doing well on the Brax 2 phones with the old IMEI. I don't know if I don't think anybody's having a problem with the Brax phones with the brand 4, the new Brax USA, but I don't have any confirmation on that. So Pure Talk works great. I tested Pure Talk myself. Pure Talk is AT&T. T-Mobile is what I use. I've used T-Mobile, and I used T-Mobile and Ting for a long time, and now I'm going to dump Ting. Probably I'm guessing maybe I'm going to go Pure Talk for 2FA, because Pure Talk Seem to work without any problem. Maybe Mint, I don't know. Mint doesn't have a problem with our IMEIs. They were having a problem because the IMEI wasn't supported. They only supported certain models. What, we beat that. We beat that. So thank you, Linsko Pring, because I get so much bad comments on that Apple video. It's really frustrating for me. So we have 7 minutes left here. So we have stock of Brax 2 phones. We probably have enough stock, I'm guessing, to last till maybe May. I am not sure if we'll be able to last till June. I am not certain on the Brax 2 USA. We may be able to get the Brax 2 International for a long time, and that works in the US, so that's not a problem. I'm using, my phone is the Brax 2 International. I don't have the USA version, so I'm okay with the Brax 2 International. So as long as you flash the IMEI, it's not a problem. So I don't have an issue with band 4. Seems to work here. So, and I'm on T-Mobile. T-Mobile uses band 4, but they also don't have to rely on band 4. The main reason that we made Brax USA band 4 is for Verizon, but Verizon has some problems. So we're not working too well with Verizon itself. We seem to work fine with Verizon MVNOs, but we're having problems with texting on Verizon itself. So for that reason, if you're going to use Verizon, I'm going to suggest you get a Pixel instead. So don't get a Brax 2 phone if you're going to do Verizon, so we don't have to go through that. It may work with Verizon, but it may not. So if you're on Verizon, then I'm going to suggest you go use a Pixel phone. I'm low on stock in Pixels. It's seasonal to get Pixels, and we're low on stock right now. I believe I only have Pixel 6. I have one Pixel 5, and I'm not going to be getting any. I have a bunch of 4As. Can't get any more, hardly have any more 3As, and hardly have any more 3A XLs. So running out of stock. So so I'm very, very low on stock on that. I've a good stock of Brax 2 phones. I don't even have international. I think my international will run out. I'm going to get a shipment next week, but until that shipment arrives, I'm very low on Brax International. Who says Mint is the best? I'm not saying anything about Mint being best. Who's saying that? I'm not saying anything about that. No, I'm just saying pricing. No, Mint is not the best. So, whatever carrier works for you is the best for you. The main carriers are, AT&T and T-Mobile as far as Brax 2 phones. Those two carriers and their MVNOs can work for you if you have a Brax 2 phone. As far as I know, it works with any carrier in Canada, and the international version works internationally and works fine in Australia and New Zealand. No one that's come to me from New Zealand or Australia and said, "Oh, it doesn't work here." I've not heard that yet, and I've sold quite a bit. I've sold quite a bit to Australia and New Zealand. So those. My biggest international is Canada, and then the UK and Australia probably even, and then New Zealand. New Zealand being a smaller place, obviously doesn't have that many. And then to the rest of the EU. So so we got no problem on the compatibility of the phone. The only ones with compatibility is Verizon in the US. And the compatibility is not on the calling, it's just with the texting. The calling works fine. Okay? So we're down to a couple of minutes. So thank you guys for watching. I didn't mean to make it into a rant, but it's just kind of it's frustrating because I can't respond to the comments that are negative because I don't want to get into a long explanation with people who don't really care. But I'm making sure you understand, what I'm saying and where I'm coming from, so that when you hear people say that, I don't know what I'm talking about, that they're full of zhit, shit. They're full of shit. Okay? They're zucking full of shit. Somebody said, "You're swearing again." No, we never swear in this channel. Okay. Yes. zhit and zuck. Right. No bad words here. We don't do that. Okay. Thank you for watching, guys, and I appreciate it. And I'll see you next time. And watch that Apple video again and see if you get the fine points from what I'm saying, because it's kind of subtle in there. Okay. See you later, my friends.